Yo. Yo. I'm so old. I'm 55, holding a GoPro like I know what I'm doing. Come on, show yourselves to everybody out there. I'm such a geek. Turn this thing off. Good evening. How great is this? What an amazing weekend. And I know this is, my name's Jimmy, by the way. This is the last night of Contact in the Desert 2019. And let's not be bummed. I know what you're going, oh, wow. We've had a great time. We're going to rock it tonight. I'm here to lift everybody's spirits and go, this was an amazing weekend. Give yourselves a round of applause right now. I've had the best time. So, okay, I'm going to do two things really quick, three. I'm going to say thank you. I want all of you to show your appreciation to Paul and Victoria and the team for another amazing Contact in the Desert. Thank them now. I want to thank my amazing, beautiful wife, Rita, for putting up with me this weekend. Rita, thank you. Got to do it. Okay, so I'm going to get straight to it because we've got an amazing night in front of us. I'm going to say this. The number is 1. One lifetime ago, there was no universe. One lifetime ago, science thought that our Milky Way was all there was. And I'm talking about 1930. One lifetime ago. This is 2019. It's kind of hard to believe what we know today, that just one lifetime ago, the number was 1. One lifetime ago, one universe, and that was the Milky Way. And there was one planet, and that was Earth, that had life on it. One lifetime ago. Today, 1 trillion planets in the Milky Way. 1 trillion planets in the Milky Way. Think about this. In the last 15 years ago, there were 5 exoplanets. 5. Then there were 10 5 years later. In the last 5 years, we've added 10,000. 10,000 exoplanets. Now, cosmologists, astrophysicists agree that every planet that you can imagine up in the sky is next to every star that you see. Think about what I am saying. I'm going to take out a dime. A dime. This is a dime. It's a dime. You can walk out in your backyard. You can walk out tonight outside and take a dime and hold it up to any black spot in the night sky in between stars, and you are looking at 150,000 galaxies. And you can do that anywhere on the planet. There are 1 trillion planets in our Milky Way. And every galaxy of those 150,000 you're looking at with your dime has 500 billion planets in it. Do you think we're alone? Do you honestly think we are all that there is? We are not. and we are connecting with our brothers every single day. The spirituality involved with hanging out with those that are more advanced than us, that understand what we are going through on this beautiful blue planet, is amazing. And all of you get it. And tonight, I have gathered the very best to talk about this very important subject. I want to thank all of you. Thank you. Give it to me right now. Thank you. I want to bring out first to the stage. Last night, I had the honor and the privilege to give a Lifetime Achievement Award. And he told me last night it was his first award for anything in his career. I still don't believe it. Give it up, Mr. Graham Hancock. Graham, come on out. Pole position. One of the young men tearing it up today. Everybody resonates with him. I feel like his dad because I helped him on his journey. I'm so proud of him. Jason Quitt. Jason, come on out. I can't believe I get to say this next name. Adam Apollo, unified.org. Adam. He's right here, too. Are you ready? You knew I had to do this. Laura Eisenhower. Laura, come on out. Hold on. Stop right there. Laura got married today. Congratulate Laura.
No, it's my 1-year anniversary.
Oh, well, 1-year anniversary. No, that's not what she said to me earlier. She said, I can't believe he's still in my life. And I thought they got married. Okay.
Where is he? Oh my God, that's him.
Kevin, stand up.
That's my
No,
husband.
Laura, right here. Laura, you're in my seat. Right here. She's so excited. And I even said to Kevin, can I mention this tonight?
He's like so embarrassed. Oh shit. Oh.
Doctors JJ and Desiree Hurtak, PhD. Sir.
I'm sorry, get some excuse.
Hannah V. Strong Deer, ET Ambassador and Medicine Woman. Hannah V., come on out. Thank you so much.
Oh, she sits next to me. Oh.
Who else do I have left? I'm looking back. It is the one and only. From ECETI Ranch, James Gilliland is here. James. Unbelievable. Okay, I want to start here. I'm going to start with Graham because I have to. It's Graham Hancock. Graham, the spirituality side of things, you've always been interested in. You've written about the science and changing and paradigm shifting history. But your last few years has been focused on the spirituality side of things.
Sure.
And you said that you are growing. I remember you said, me, myself, as an individual, I'm not perfect. I change every single day, and I look at myself. Spirituality is important, and you've been absolutely vocal about it. Spirituality to you, when you hear the word, what does it mean?
Well, I can't hear that word without connecting it to consciousness and the mystery of consciousness. I mean, in our society today, there are all sorts of forces that want to define us in purely material terms, by the color of our skin or by the nation that we're born in. But what really matters about all human beings is our consciousness. That's what we are. We're consciousness incarnated in matter. And I believe, I can't prove it, that there's a purpose to this, that we're in this material incarnation on this incredible theater of experience called the Earth in order to learn and to grow and to develop. And maybe we have to go through many lives on this planet and perhaps on many other planets. That's the beautiful thing about the whole idea of reincarnation. Every time you get reborn, wherever and whenever it is, the whole pack of cards is thrown in the air, and you come down with different set of circumstances in which to learn and to grow and to develop. Spirituality must be separated from materialism. And by materialism, I don't just mean the love of material things. I mean the notion deeply embedded in Western science that there is nothing more to reality than matter. If you can't weigh it or measure it or count it, then it doesn't exist. It's precisely those intangible aspects of ourselves, I think, that are the most important, and that we are here to nurture and to grow. So as my years advance and I find myself coming towards the end of this incarnation, I ask myself, what have I learned? How much have I grown? How much have I contributed? How much have I given? How much have I helped others rather than hindered others? How much have I added to the good in the world rather than detracted from it?
Did you always understand that?
No, I didn't always understand that, and I don't think anybody does. That's part of the process of life, that we learn lessons as we go through it. And what I've learned is that what matters is how we live this life and the impact that we have on others and how we treat and behave towards others, and how we take this incredible gift that the universe has given us and use it well, because that's the obligation upon anybody who's given a gift, to use that gift well.
You know, and before I move on, I want you to expand on that a little bit. In that, with all, I just laid out the scientific facts of the amount of planets that are in our Milky Way. The numbers are absolutely, you don't even understand them, they're so big, right?
Yeah.
Is this, the civilizations out there, even if it's a small number, that could be thousands or millions of years more advanced than us, surely, and even if it was a small number, we're still talking about a million, right? It's like a big number. But they would have gone through the same spiritual and consciousness evolutions that we're going through here now. Do you think they understand what we are going through?
Well, that's one of the problems I have, to the extent that I understand it, with the whole disclosure issue. Because if these aliens are secretly negotiating with our governments, then they're assholes. And that's the very last people they should be talking to, the criminals and thieves and liars and deceivers who run the world. You know?
I guess we can just end the panel now. Thank you for that. I mean, I want to give him the mic so he can. James, ECETI Ranch. One of the most spiritual places on this planet. As you know, I've spent a lot of time there. Most of us have. But there's a connection there, not only with the spiritual side, but there are things going on in the skies above ECETI every single night, and it's a crazy, wonderful thing to go through. But you have been talking about the connection spiritually with our ET brothers, and through your experiences at ECETI and the guests that go up there. So when I ask you about spirituality in ET, what does that mean to you?
Well, basically, you know, the mind in which you seek is the mind in which you connect. So it's very important that we rise to the occasion if we are going to be working with spiritually and technologically advanced beings. There are the other side, of the project, and I kind of stay away from that. I'd rather avoid that altogether. But as I said before, just because you're dead doesn't mean you're enlightened, and just because you're an ET doesn't mean you're benevolent. And there's been strong warnings about the first contacts as being not so benevolent. And we've had a lot of that going on for quite some time. The good news is the benevolent ones are coming in right now, and they're putting an end to that. And so, we have our ancient ancestors are returning. Some of them have been here for a very long time waiting for us. And as long as we rise to the occasion, they're going to find us. You put out an energy field, your consciousness does, and when you're ready, they'll find you. So it's really important that we rise to the occasion, clean up our own consciousness, clean up our old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experiences, and do our daily practices and raise our frequencies, because these are higher frequency beings. They're higher dimensional beings. They do have the ability to walk right among us. And lately we're getting photographs. They used to just appear as kind of wispy, and you could see their outlines and things like that, and now they're coming fully into the physical. And we have photographs of that. We just had a photograph of Kuan Yin appearing at the ranch, and before she was just a brilliant light with a form inside of it. So we have photographs of the Palladians, the Orion Counts of Light, the Syrians, the feline beings. We just had remote viewers come up there and remote view the mountain, and what they found out was there's like a galactic airport in the top part of the mountain. There's some extreme technology in the middle of the mountain that's pumping energy out, and there's feline beings protecting the mountain. And so that's the information they got, and it was the exact same information I've been talking about for 30 years, basically. So it's fine. It's finally getting validated. The footage is there. The photographs are there. And we have a golden opportunity right now to join the rest of the universe in peace, to join the greater family of man. And there are tools and techniques to take care of the lower dimensional ones, to move them out of your space and keep your space clear. And that's very important too. So it's all about maintaining your self-authority, getting these tools under your belt, making your own personal connection with God, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, and then using these tools and these connections, because they are power tools. You got to plug them in, So.
Thank you for that, James. I just want a round of applause. Who here has been to ECETI? Right? That is. Half the panel's been there too. Yeah. That's a game changer. That's a paradigm shift. Adam Apollo, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely lovely tonight. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent.
Your first time here?
Yeah.
How has it been for you? Is this like the most insane conference ever? It's pretty great, isn't it?
I'm having an absolutely lovely time. Everybody that I've met here is deeply present and curious and open-minded. And while I've found some people have gained great conviction through the data and the amazing presentations that they receive, I sense that there's always a grain of salt. And I think that that's really important, because as much as we study and as much as we learn, it is essential that we always have lots of salt, because there's always new ideas and new interpretations to everything.
Now, you have, this is what I really enjoy about you. Your audience and your membership and what you've been pushing through, and I would say students, curriculum, right? That you've been pushing through. This is big. But it's also with some crossover outside of this community, right?
Yeah.
But they are fully awakened and fully spiritual. And this is what you've been commenting on. And you also reference and speak a lot about ET and contact. For your audience, how easy is that? Or are they walking into this already understanding with an open mind?
Life is an onboarding process, isn't it? you know, I found that for my students in both the Guardian Alliance, the Resonance Academy, even in the Visionary Arts Academy, which I created, there is a process of coming to understand our relationship with the universe, with each other, with ourselves. And I find that in the process of discovering each other and who we really are, you know, there's certain questions that are not answered by school, by our society, by the standardized scientific formula. And at the right juncture point, when someone asks the right questions, new insights about who we are as a human species become really important. And as a scientist, if you look out into the sky, and just as you introed us all in here tonight, we know there is life everywhere. But the context of that life actually being connected to us in a deeper way, and that our own journeys through our lives here on this planet may be deeply entangled with the cultures, with the traditions and the understandings of species that have been evolving on their planet and traveling to other planets for millennia, can give us a deeper sense of understanding of our own history, of our own culture, of the wisdom that's hidden in so many of our traditions all over the world. And it helps to also unite us, because we realize that we are so diverse, and yet we're all here exploring this amazingly beautiful planet together. Whether you've been here for millions of years, or whether you came in to Lemuria with a bunch of Pleiadians to hang out, or you came here at the time of Atlantis to help spark the charge of the human race becoming part of this galactic civilization, or if you're just arriving as a young kid, I think that it's important for us to look at our soul journey in a deeper way, to get to know ourselves. And of course, those understandings apply to all of our scientific breakthroughs.
Adam Apollo, welcome to CITD, man. Hanavi Strong, dear. How you doing?
Hello, brother.
Welcome. I want to start here before I say ET ambassador or spirituality. I want you to tell everybody what a medicine woman is.
All right. Hello, dear hearts. So, a medicine woman, you could say another term for it is a shaman. But it seems like everyone is a shaman these days. I always say that everyone wants to be a medicine woman and man, except for those that are. So
Wait. Say that again.
I say that everyone wants to be a medicine man and woman, except for those that are.
Why? Why? Seriously.
Because everyone wants to be a shaman. Well, that's what I have encountered. But really, a shaman is a bridge between worlds, and we can all be that in our lives. That's what my talk was about, how to be a bridge between worlds, unifying the earth with the stars. And that is the era that we're going into. And a shaman is also someone who is a healer, a visionary, someone who is there to provide healing, traditionally within the village, you know. But when we go to all the traditions of the world, many of them do have shamanic lineages. And over time, particularly in the modern culture, we have lost the archetype of the shaman. And so that's why we're also getting a resurgence in healers and mentors and guides who are taking on this role of the modern shaman. Because shamanism does not just have to look like a shaman, you know, in the jungle waving some chacruna leaves around, right? Each of you also has this inner shaman within you. That's the short answer.
Thank you for that. What is it that the ancient indigenous cultures of not only Central and South and North America, what they knew in the past that we completely unraveled and lost sight of today. Graham has spoken about this so much. We've come unhinged. What is it that they knew that we need to get back to?
Is that for me, brother?
That is still for you.
You know, the ancients, they were really connected from their heart. This is what has been lost in the modern culture in particular. They really were these bridges between worlds. They honored Mother Gaia. They were earth guardians, like we each are. You know, that was the original. And then, you know, slowly over time, people have lost connection and they've gone to extremes. So we see in our modern culture, there's a tendency to be very analytical. And the intellect is beautiful. It serves a purpose. It has a seat at the table, like anything else. But the intellect can cut like a knife. It was designed to do certain things. It cannot bring the healing that only the heart can bring.
Amazing. Thank you. Desiree, JJ, when it comes to the subject of future science, you've been writing about this for a very long time, but also spirituality and consciousness and its connection to ET and knowledge, lost history. And here we are today. I want you to first define spirituality. But today, when we go out and pull these craft in, it's not an accidental sighting anymore. There seems to be a connection, a consciousness connection, because they arrive when they are called on. This is not coincidence. We've seen it over and over again, and it seems to me to be a newer thing. Or is it not? Is this something that you were aware of 40 years ago?
Well, I'd like to pick up also where Hanavi had begun, or ended actually, I should say, because we've worked with the indigenous people of the Amazon, and they have a spirituality. And that spirituality is a spirit of connectedness, as you were saying. So basically, in a sense, when we've worked with them, they're actually in your head. They're actually thinking, and you can feel what they're thinking. They can feel what you're thinking. This is natural for them. So in addition to that, there's also the powers that they've gained over nature. And one of those powers is we were flying in an airplane, and they knew that we didn't want to fly in a little plane with a bunch of rain. And that was happening. We had to do that. And they said, don't worry. We're going to protect you. And so the plane flew for hours, and there was storm clouds, literally rain clouds, all around us, and we were in this pocket of energy. So to me, that's the spirit. Spirit can also be consciousness, but it's this linkage with all of reality, with being able to manage nature, with being able to manage the thoughts and share the thoughts that are within us. Think of this. Most of us don't want to share thoughts with anyone else because we're not always thinking that great. But these people live together in a tribal environment, and they all share interconnectedness, which we also are starting, I believe, to learn. I think that's where we're moving into. We're moving into this interconnectedness with each other.
JJ?
And Desiree, speaking now of the jungles of central Brazil, very serious weather storms came up, and then the protection was there. Spirituality for us is really the dance between the human and the divine, without limitations, without conditions. It is unconditional experience of the divine. To be distinguished from religion, which comes in the Western languages from the word regio, which means to bind the hands of God, to make a performance on petition request. It basically locks the mind. It creates mind locks where you have to perform and dance according to a given tune, a different tradition, a different script. But at this time, we're seeing here on this wonderful panel the the consciousness shift that's taking place. The unconditional side of the divine spark is coming forth, and to this we celebrate.
And thank you for that. And now, Laura Eisenhower, I kind of held you back for last because we on the show last week, you and I, had a 2.5-hour conversation on this very subject. And I want you to, well, let's kind of go back and revisit that show. But this planet is going through changes, not only on the spiritual level and the consciousness level, but there has never been more contact with ET and sightings in the sky and people aware that they can affect that change. You know, what's going on with this planet? Are we prepared? Are we pushing back on this darkness? And are we spiritually starting to evolve?
Well, I think a huge mission that I think a lot of us hold in our soul is to be sovereign, but we still want community. We still want to relate to our cosmic family and, you know, every level of every aspect of our DNA, which relates to all these different harmonic universes that are held in our DNA. And this process of awakening isn't so much about meaning something that's external as much as awakening something within that attracts a likeness and even an opposition. You know, there's no one philosophy that can cover any like situation. So it's like some things might be a reflection, some things might be a catalyst. But we're in this process of when we talk about upgrading DNA, we're actually more talking about how do we clear the elementals of contamination. When we look at the oceans, when we look at the earth, when we look at the skies, we see the skies being sprayed. When we look at all these parts of the earth, air, fire, water, we notice like, okay, something's really that's kind of like messed up. And we wake up every day and we have to like handle that earth and sky and fire and water. And there is real evidence that as of 2010, the shifting of the timelines happened and the ether became available again. So the Satanists like tend to have that symbolism of the inverted pentagram, you know, where the elements, the fifth element is going into the ground. It's not available. They manipulated the dodecahedron, which is connected to the ether. We've only been like functioning in a 12-house system of the zodiac. As of 2010, the 13th sign came online, and it brought the mother energy back into the planet, which activated it as a diamond sun, diamond heart, that changed the frequency of all the earth grids and all the stargates, which were controlled like 26,000 years ago with all these dark technologies that actually split apart the masculine and feminine and put the ether like literally like in prison. And so when we talk about inner work, when we talk about like unity consciousness, you know, it's not just about like, oh yeah, we're just gonna have fun, we're just gonna party, which I really love to do. But it's like we're sharing like all these codes, we're sharing all these root races, we're rehabilitating together. And the fact that we create these conferences, the fact that we come together is the proof that all this is actually happening. So when the sun started to move through Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, and it activated the 13th gate, that is actually, on many levels, the Christ Sophia template activating within all of us, which means that we have the willingness to divorce ourselves from the imposters, all the negative agendas that we have bought into through being put in front of a television set, maybe when we were little kids, buying into a religion, you know, maybe like following a political party and realizing, you know, these forces are preying upon our negative ego self. And the personality matrix is the 3D, but this is actually way bigger. And now that the mother energy's returned, even if it didn't return, we have it in ourselves to call upon it and say, this is my deepest soul longing. So we created this. The mother energy's anchored back. And it's actually pulling out all the splinters of these false programs. So when we like see these doom and gloom like scenarios and we see all these potential timelines, we have to kind of laugh at it and pull out the splinters and say, I'm sovereign, I'm connected to the earth. I'm connected to the cosmos. This is an earthly and cosmic thing. It's not a belief system. It's not a savior that's coming. It's us. Remembering who we are. And junk DNA is our treasure. It's a treasure chest. Junk DNA
Amen.
is actually the best
Laura
thing.
Eisenhower. Strong. Jason Quitt. Jason, you're the youngest man on this panel. You're the newcomer. Yeah, take a look around. The pressure. Jason, what's your definition of spirituality? And when there are those out there that would go, Jason he's a little bit too young to have these experiences yet and to be guiding us. Your books are astounding. People are resonating with you. And I love it. But I want you right now to tell us, what is your definition of spirituality?
Everybody tonight has been using the word connection, and that's extremely important, but what's more important is being present in that connection. And it's not just having the presence and connection with the people around us, but it's also the presence that you feel walking this earth, and the presence that you feel in your thoughts that are occurring right now, in your emotions, and how you're feeling in your body. But when you take that all away, what are you? And that's what spirituality is. There is a force that you are. And if all those things fall away from you, your thoughts, your emotions, and your connection, and if you're in this presence field, you will find out that you are much, much more than we've been taught. And we can just dissolve into other spaces, other universes, other dimensions, and we can go through past lives. We can have connections to star beings, dimensional beings, astral beings, and we realize that that connection and presence is felt throughout many, many, many spheres. So I think what's very important is to be present, but to hold that connection.
Wow, that's good. Hold on, young man, I'm not done. With your awareness and your acceptance of this and understanding of this, do you think that that is part of the reasons why that you were reached out to, spoken to, traveled with, and shown things about our past? And as you answer that, is our world actually going through that right now with our ET brothers? In that, are they realizing that we are understanding who we are, and they are starting to reach out?
I feel that something is actually occurring, and James actually mentioned this. It's almost like the dimensions are getting thinner and we have a stronger connection. So these beings are actually manifesting physically that we can see them, just like the Bigfoot pops in and out of existence. These multidimensional beings, these spiritual beings, for some reason now have a stronger connection with mankind, and they can move through certain individuals, speak to them, show them things, download information, and there is a big quantum shift in our consciousness, and we're moving very, very fast. So when the time comes when these beings will manifest in front of us in our world, just like the mists will reveal them, we will be right there with them, ready for that connection. It won't be a surprise to us.
Wow. He had me. Graham, sir,
Yes?
everybody talks about this disclosure thing. It's all over the news. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
The Navy, ET is here. It's everywhere today. Are we ready? Are we moving closer to this? Can this planet actually handle this kind of news?
Well, see, just to come back to the kind of off-the-cuff remark that I made at the beginning, if the premise, to the extent that I understand it, if the premise behind disclosure is that government agencies are in contact with ETs already, then we already have a huge problem, and that is being kept from us. Because if these ETs are such advanced beings and have the welfare of humanity at stake, then it beats me why they're dealing with the thieves and liars who run the world. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I feel that truly evolved and spiritual beings, wherever they come from, the very last people they would want to deal with is the military-industrial complex and the politicians and the commercial interests that run our world. And for that reason, I have severe problems with the whole idea. If the channel is already monopolized by the gatekeepers who monopolize so much in our world and who are constantly plunging us into violence and hatred and fear and suspicion, then I'm not sure I want to know these ETs.
Well, okay, this is what's fascinating to me, and I think for everybody else in here. If ET is spiritually advanced, as we would expect them to be, any civilization, why do we seem to be getting the fear porn card played along with these news headlines? That they're invading our airspace, that our military is threatened, that we've got to do something about this, we've got to create a space force, we've got to... There's a fear element that's being played into this, and it doesn't make any sense.
I have to say that's completely minor by comparison with the fear element that is being injected into the relationships between human beings.
That's right.
And between cultures.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the fear element that's being directed into the ET contact is just tiny by comparison with the horrific miasma of fear and hatred and suspicion that our political classes are generating in the world and seeking to create these illusionary divisions among human beings and trying to persuade us to forget that we are not all members of, that we are in fact all members of one family.
We're all earthlings, right.
We're being persuaded... We're being persuaded to focus on very narrow issues. I mean, for example, the color of our skin. I can't understand why anybody would be proud of the color of their skin. The color of our skin is something that we're born with. It's like being proud of our knees or being proud of the length of our colon, you know. I mean, it's just completely trivial and unimportant and unnecessary. And these kind of divisions that, you know, us and them is constantly being beamed out into the world through 24-hour rolling misery that we call news, you know. And actually the So I guess that's why I find technologies like DMT very interesting, and I suspect that's one of the reasons why our governments try to keep them illegal and seek to demonize these substances, because it seems to me at least possible that DMT may be a means for direct democratic contact with these entities and with these beings without the intervention of governmental powers in the middle. I had the privilege just a couple of weeks ago of interviewing on stage Dr. Rick Strassman, who, this was in Sedona. Rick Strassman is the author of DMT, The Spirit Molecule. And DMT, The Spirit Molecule, is an incredibly important book. Rick is a psychiatrist at the University of New Mexico, and he did the first human trials with DMT and human volunteers back in the 1990s. And there were many fascinating aspects of that research, but one of the fascinating aspects was the way that many of the volunteers would come back and say that they had encountered entities who basically said to them, "We're so glad you've discovered this technology, DMT. Now we can communicate with you much more easily. And I would like to see, whether through DMT or through meditation or through other ways of achieving altered states of consciousness, I would like to see direct contact with these entities, whatever they are, and I would like to see our governments and our big corporations and the news media kept out of the picture entirely, completely out of the picture. They're just going to mess everything up.
I've got to go down to Hanavi after that. Do you agree?
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, funnily enough, Graham, you say that, and that's exactly what happens to me. When I'm in ceremony with Mother Ayahuasca, I connect with the most benevolent, kind, beautiful beings. And this connection is also happening outside of ceremony too. So I took a break from all medicine for 1 year and 2 months, and the connection continued because I started to receive communication from star beings in 2010 before I had done any medicine. I only started to work with medicine in 2016. So I do feel there's a lot of judgment towards other pathways, such as medicine work, and a lot of misunderstanding, especially from the modern culture. One of the reasons is that people think it's a drug, but the indigenous cultures, I can tell you, they do not classify it as a drug. It's a sacred teacher and plant with its own sentience and intelligence. And quite frankly, I feel if we did not have these kind plant teachers showing us visions of who we are and the future and how we can change it for the better, that we would not be having the acceleration in consciousness. So really, we all need to drop the judgments about which path is better, because we're not going to know. We're all so unique. We're all so unique. What works for one does not for another.
If I could add to that, I have obviously I have encounters with the ancient astronaut theorists, and what I've discovered, and it makes me sad, is that a lot of people who are into the ancient astronaut idea are completely opposed to the consciousness approach to this, and want a very nuts and bolts approach, that it's all about tech, it's about machines, it's about beings with higher tech than we've got, and somehow the notion that we might access benevolent and important entities through changing our consciousness is derided and ridiculed, almost to the extent that mainstream scientists like Richard Dawkins will deride and ridicule this. And I think that this community, to the extent that it has not done so already, needs to open up to the notion of direct connection through consciousness with the wider reality in which we are immersed. I think it's a remarkable thing, the way that Mother Ayahuasca, the ayahuasca vine, has emerged from the Amazon jungle in the last 60 years and has begun to spread around the world. And what I sense is a rescue mission underway. I see Mother Ayahuasca as the mother goddess of our planet. She's here to protect the earth, and she takes great interest in the human species because of our potential consciousness, because of the potential of our consciousness, and she sees that we are in trouble and in difficulty, and she has spread around the world so that it is now possible to engage with Mother Ayahuasca anywhere in the world. You don't have to go to the Amazon jungle. And then, sadly, the commercial ethic of our society is leading to the pollution of some ayahuasca ceremonies, so that people are administering ceremony who have no right to do so, and no experience and no responsibility, who do not have the shamanistic knowledge. We need to sit at the feet of shamans in hunter-gatherer societies and learn from them with humility, learn from them so that we can apply those teachings in our own society.
You're exactly right. Thank you for that.
Okay, right?
And you bring up, Graham, I don't want to run this into the ground, but voices like Richard Dawkins, who have a tremendous amount of influence, And they use that influence to say that there is nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That
when
is
you die, you turn into dust.
That is the essence of scientific materialism.
That's right.
They reduce everything to matter. They say consciousness is just an accidental epiphenomenon of brain activity.
An accident.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary logic. And what they can't confront is that they are in fact dealing with their own religion. That is a faith-based idea. That is not a fact. That's right. When Richard Dawkins says there's no life after death, he is not stating a fact. He's not stating an empirically proven fact.
Would you sit down? Would you engage with? I would sit between you and.
Well, I did engage with him because he came to my city, which is the city of Bath in the southwest of England. And he gave a talk in the public library. So I went to the talk, and then I stood up and asked him a question. And I said, he was talking about the nature of reality in very materialistic terms, and I pointed out to him, and I recorded it and later put it on the internet. I pointed out to him that there are other cultures that have different views of reality, and that they mediate those connections with reality through powerful visionary teacher plants like ayahuasca. And I said, would he be willing to challenge his own preconceptions by going to the Amazon and drinking ayahuasca? He said, well, under the right circumstances, under properly medically supervised circumstances, he might be willing to do this. But then he got a free pass a little bit later because he had a stroke. I followed this up, as a matter of fact. And the follow-up is that he now says he's not able to do this because he's had a stroke. And this was passed on to me by the editor of Skeptic magazine,
Michael Shermer. Michael
Shermer. So I challenged
What
Michael.
about one little puff,
I challenged Michael Shermer to go drink some ayahuasca. Because all these guys are pronouncing and making statements about these medicines without any personal knowledge of them whatsoever. And in my view, that's highly irresponsible. And I suspect, it's my view, I'm on the record for this, I think that anybody running for high office, particularly presidential office, should be required to undergo a minimum of 12 ayahuasca ceremonies before they're even allowed to apply for the job.
I'm going to go visit them.
Oh, man.
I think Hawkins is one part of the problem with the selfish gene. David Sloan Wilson, a great writer and scientist in the United States, has come up with an idea of the altruistic gene, the gene that brings us into greater compassion and love. And we need to see the new minds appearing on the scene rather than fight battles, some of which are a dissipation of vital energy that we need at this time.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned meditation, because that's a technique that we use, as well as sound vibrations. And there's so many beings in the universe, as you mentioned, Jimmy, at the very beginning, with all the many, many stars, trillions of stars literally around us. But in addition to that, not only the trillions of stars, but the multidimensional levels of beings. And I know everyone else on this panel recognizes those multi-dimensional levels, the gateways that we have to pass through. And everyone does have their own process of doing that, but each person can do that. And these beings are really interested in communicating. They're really interested in helping this planet, because this planet is going through some major changes. And a lot of it is the dinosaurs, like Dawkins, that have to wag their tails before we can make that change. But we really are, if we listen, I don't think they're just going to the governments anymore. They did go to the governments. I don't know why, for whatever reason. I can have some ideas. But they're also now coming to all of us. And I think that's what's really exciting. And we are all able to connect in other ways, in many ways, meditation we use, to connect with those beings, or to go to ECETI and even see those vehicles.
Adam, I'm going to jump in. Adam, you were just agreeing right there. Why?
I've just been simmering a lot in this conversation. Back in 2005, I met a physical extraterrestrial ambassador who tested me in very particular ways about my feelings about humanity's readiness to become part of this galactic community.
Let me jump in and ask, was there ayahuasca involved
No.
or DMT? I'm
No.
only asking because you don't need this
That's right.
for the spiritual connection.
This was a very sober and sobering experience. But it was actually the result of a huge amount of personal healing that I was going through. And for those of you interested in such things, I cleared a massive karmic block with my mother and father from the age of Atlantis, and I'd met them in person in this life. And it opened a door to my time before coming to Earth, and I think that's why she came. And after she tested me, I went through this sort of automatic self-known process of spinning up my field and launching out of my body, and I ended up in an astral galactic council chamber with 73 different ambassadors from all over the galaxy. And I'll tell you that what I came to understand in that journey is
I'm not going to let you stop there. We're going to go back.
That's fine.
Okay, continue.
You can rewind me, but I want to make the point that's really essential to this conversation, which is that, through engaging with these beings, beyond their diversity, there's something that they all had in common, which is that they had a series of principles about open source knowledge and technology exchange among this community. And as I understood what that meant, I gained this perspective that, wow, of course, if you innovate, let's imagine we're countries instead of different star systems. Imagine China pops out a new epic technology, and instead of keeping it secret, they just give it to the whole world. United States makes a major breakthrough in some way. We give it to every country in Africa. Right then, just do it. Just give it away. And what this does is this balances the equation, that as we grow and evolve, we bring each other along with us. Now, that is a galactic community that pervades this galaxy and is what I believe many of us encounter when we say we encounter this amazing benevolent experience with these different beings. And there's other species out there too, and one of which has participated with Earth quite a lot in their own healing process. And I don't want to get into the whole story of why they needed a healing process, but let's just say if you ever get chips installed in the back of your head, you want to make sure there's no back door, because having a hive mind is not ideal. And so for the Zeta Reticuli to get their individuality back after this sort of technologically crushing situation for their species, humanity is an amazing experimental base to be working with, because we have such an exquisite individuality. And I believe the Zetas have been coming here with a lot lower level technology than the rest of this galactic community for a long time to explore. And they've been allowed to in order to get in touch with different beings, some of whom are actually them incarnated as humans, and get to know us in order to get to know their own individualized nature. And I believe that it's their ships that have crashed on this planet, that have been shot down or went through an electrical storm and their low-level magnetic, starship technology couldn't handle it. And I believe it's also that species that our government has generally been in contact with. And so I wouldn't put blame maybe to them or to the government, for wanting to understand and wanting to protect people from information they thought would cause riots, like we saw with, the War of the Worlds radio show. And at the same time, we have to recognize that, again, there is a progression of level of consciousness going on here. And there are a lot of beings, and I'm talking about individuals within all species, who have trauma and are going through a healing process. And so I'd like to just right off the bat immediately take off the table that there is good species and bad species, because there are actions that we take that are good and bad. There are actions that we take that are good and evil. But to say that an entire species is negative ETs or whatever is missing the point of consciousness and evolution and healing.
You ready, Laura?
Oh my God.
Now, Okay, so let's back up the car a little bit.
Perfect and brilliant.
Your contact with this ambassador, you seem to indicate that it was physical at that point.
Yeah, it was. She was in the body, in flesh, in front of me.
Well, I'm going to ask, what did she look like?
Well, you know,
Glad you
interestingly
asked,
enough,
Jimmy.
the closest archetype that I can give people for sort of an instant visual is she actually looked kind of Romulan. You guys know the Romulans in Star Trek?
This whole room does,
So
yes.
she had this whole, right, exactly. Who am I talking to here?
It's like,
Hi guys, I missed you talking at all these other conferences. So she had slightly pointed elven-like ears, but she had very, very defined bone points going up her forehead. And instead of this little bone point right here, where every Homo erectus, we've all got this little spot. It's the end of the eyebrow. You can always tell. She didn't have that spot right there. Hers was back here, and it was hollowed around her eyes back to that bone point. So she had a much larger eye socket, though her eyes were similar to human size. And little bone points on her cheeks and one on her chin. And she was wearing these robes that were exquisitely awesome. I really want some. They had these like constellation patterns going down in gold in these two lines going all the way down, and long hair. And when she spoke to me, she spoke straight into my mind. And if any of you guys, have any of you guys like put on VR goggles out there? Yeah. So you know how when you put on VR goggles and it comes up, it's just like, whoa, like you are in there. You know what I'm saying? It was like that when she spoke to my mind. It was like this perfect telepathy that just brought me into full visualization light language.
And do you think this contact, this reaching out, was because you understood your own spirituality and you knew who you were, and that's why this happened?
Well, interestingly enough, yeah, I believe that is the case, because the healing that I had gone through, I'd had many, many, many years of working through kind of karmas and memories of my lifetimes here on Earth. But getting back to my mom and dad in Atlantis and then having to deal with this piece with them unlocked something inside me, and it was a realization that I wasn't from this planet. And having the sort of full embodied experience of realizing, wow, I'm kind of a foreigner here, and I remember I came here to help all these beautiful beings, and I wanted to connect the family here with my family back there. And so in this experience, when I set out into the middle of the desert where I ran into this being, it was because I wanted to reconnect with my family. I wanted to have the experience. I knew I could make contact. There was no doubt in my mind, because how could I not? If that's my family and they're there and I'm here, so I know they're listening.
Adam Apollo, welcome to the Contact in the Desert family, my friend.
Thanks, bro.
Jason. And then I need to come down to James for the same question. There is a lot of talk about DMT. There is a lot of talk about ayahuasca and the connection and another dimension or possible parallel world. And all of this is there, and the science should look into this and figure out why these connections are being made in this communication. But I often wonder, I've never smoked DMT. I've never done DMT. I might, though. I've got an open mind.
Tonight. My place, my hotel.
Are you guys with me on that? All right. I may look fed.
Just make sure it's 5-MeO.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Wait, this is the
5-MeO.
Okay.
Not NN.
I can
It's-
back that up too.
And see, and this is, and after the learning experience of the connection, is it possible, and Graham, I know he's nodding his head, is it possible to make the connection to that other place without a DMT influenced, experience? Yes.
Absolutely, because you produce DMT and other type of chemistry naturally, especially in sleep cycles. So we can actually have these things open up to us. And what I have to say is that this type of chemistry or these plant medicines, they are portals to other worlds. And just going back to this whole disclosure thing, what we're seeing with the disclosure in the news, that's just really great PR for building up the military. Yeah. All right, that's what it is, because true disclosure is not we have UFOs and technology. The greatest technology we have is our consciousness and our physical bodies, and it's the actual physical bodies which is your spaceship. And if you learn how to use the medicines or not use the medicines because we produce it ourselves, we can leave our bodies, travel through a portal system. We call it the spider's web, and it goes through different universes and parallel worlds. And you can travel to other places, visit your parallel selves, celestial families. You can go into your past lives. You can really travel. You're not bound by this body. And once you learn how to release yourself and travel through those portals of consciousness, and these medicines are here as a technology as well, because they're giving us this key and access point to enter these portals to learn.
Right.
To learn that we have the ability to travel, to experience, to learn about this multidimensional self and world. And we are the disclosure in technology, but, everybody wants, the president to say, there are aliens, this is what they look like, and they, their food is pretty good too, Yeah. And then you'll have a connection to this thing, but again, it's like, for me, it's always this smoke and mirrors and distraction that they're trying to sell us the idea of this type of technology or threat because they just need to build up our support for the militarization of space, which I think is very wrong, because
James, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I want everybody here to know that's never been to ECETI. You have a very strict no alcohol, no drugs. This is a spiritual, sacred land, sacred place. Absolutely not here. But I've spent a lot of time at ECETI, and in the most soberest of moments, I have seen and experienced the craziest stuff imaginable. Some of it directly with you.
Yeah.
So when the conversation of DMT, which is fine, or ayahuasca, which is fine.
Could you give us an example of the craziest stuff imaginable that you've experienced?
Yes. You want me to? Yeah, please. Okay. Check this out. I'm going to keep this very short. It's not about me. It's about you guys. Last year at ECETI, there were witnesses. You were there. Okay. Okay. Middle of the day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Graham, put this in your lobe right here, right in the front. I'm sitting at a table like this, and I have a pair of binoculars on a stand pointed at the mountain, right? Mount Adams. And I'm enjoying nature. I'm looking at the top of the mountain. I'm watching birds fly around. It's 14 miles away, the peak of the mountain. I've got a big set of binoculars. And I'm looking. And there's about 20 or 30 people around me. Some of you, who was there with me? Just somebody applaud. There's an arm there. Okay, we've got witnesses, and this is what happened. The peak of the mountain is right there, and I'm looking at it through the binoculars, and instantly, now I've got miles of blue sky on both directions. And suddenly, behind the peak of the mountain, 14 miles away, pops up, I'm gonna guess, a 400-foot-tall, spinning black beer can. It's going like this. Well, it's tall. with a silver circle, and it's going like this. And I'm guessing it's 14 miles away, and it popped up from behind the mountain. And it's black, and it's spinning, and just appeared in the middle of the day. Not at night, not night vision, not a plasma being, not a fairy in an orb.
You saw
A
those
physical middle of the day popped up behind the mountain, and it's cruising. And I jump up and I scream, ah! And which is on videotape. And I'm yelling for everybody to start taking pictures. And okay, so I go back. I'm panicking. And I sit down and I look back through, and it's still there. Steve Murillo is sitting next to me, and he's like, "It's spinning with the silver circle." Steve, are you here? Okay.
Yeah.
It's spinning with the silver circle, and I look up. It's still there. I look back. Gone. It lasted about 15 seconds. And I thought, because the mountain's 15 miles away, that this was going to float across the sky at that speed for minutes. We were going to enjoy this. We were going to videotape. It fizzled away. The man sitting right next to you was there. I have no idea. Now, if that isn't about the craziest holy grail sighting that you can have in the middle of the day, there is none. And that's what goes on.
How about the Hopi medicine wheel when you walked in there into the Orion pod?
That was a...
Tell them about that.
We'll tell that story later over drinks. I still didn't like that.
He
That
had
was
an out of
really
body.
cool.
He went out of body.
But
in
yeah,
the
and
medicine
so what is causing this? You know, I don't know, Grant. I really don't know, and I still can't explain it.
Sounds like I should make a visit to ECETI Ranch.
Yeah, Graham needs to go to ECETI Ranch. I have said many times.
But I can't even bring cannabis with me. Sorry, I'm joking. I'll play by the rules of the house.
You know what? The thing is, that is one of the most beautiful things there about it, because you can't go back and go, oh, it was this or it was that. And yeah. And anybody that you have, any friends that you have that are, skeptics, take them to ECETI.
Yeah,
they leave changed. Yeah.
It's where the debunkers come to die,
And so back to the point, Graham made me tell that story. Let's go back to this, though. You've got this rule there, but yet you make the spiritual connection daily, and you've been talking about this, and you almost make it look easy. Is it because the communication easy? Is it because of the location? Is it the mountain?
It's all about me. Just kidding.
Right.
No, it's what's happening there. There's a magnetic anomaly there. They call them purple zones, and the government knows about it. And the mountain is very sacred. It has a long history of UFO activity, going back to the Native Americans. Kenneth Arnold lost sight of the ships on the western slopes of Mount Adams, who coined the word flying saucer. And we've had, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, triple PhD Boeing engineers, Air Force base commanders, everybody going on track and public talking. Even on our Bell show, they came on. There's a long, long history of activity there. And I've had a couple near-death experiences, and I've also studied for 30-something years with lamas and yogis and studied every process-oriented therapy on the planet and how to exchange consciousness and energy and help other people have the same experience. As far as DMT, I think we should all invest in a chemtrail plane, fill it full of DMT, and fly it over DC. I said, I think we should all invest in a chemtrail plane, fill it full of DMT, and fly it over Washington, D.C., because there are...
that could be
what
a
it is,
little
here's
dangerous.
my thing about it. You can do
yeah.
it naturally. There are ways of doing it naturally. It's a long process. There's some people that are never going to take the long process. They're never going to do that. And there's some people that really need help right now. And if it's done in a very professional way, if it's done in nature with a trained shaman that knows how to heal unseen negative influences and keep sacred space, it's really important.
Yeah.
But if you do it as a party drug, which I've seen happen, where people do it recreationally, I see people get things attached to them, and we're always pulling those off. So I'm not, and one of the things we have an alcohol and drug-free policy is because everybody goes, there's a bunch of drunk, smoked-out hippies seeing UFOs up there. Well, there's no, I don't do drugs. Nobody does drugs there. It's not allowed, so they can't say that. And
no, and see, that was always my excuse. I'm not high. Whoa.
Yeah, and the sheriffs would love to come in there and find that and shut us down. So, and they have tried, so they've sent undercover people there to try to find something to shut us down. So there's several reasons why we do that. But what happens there, the energy is so strong, the veils between worlds are so thin. You just walk on the property and it's like a DMT experience. People start opening, some people go into process, because they've got to start releasing the lower vibrational wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions. Everybody comes to the ranch, they go, I love this place, it's home, it feels, the energy's so loving, so powerful. And I said, well, come back in 3 days and tell me the same thing, because after about 3 days, all your stuff's coming up, and then we have to get through it and process it. But it's just a very high frequency place. The veils are very thin there. And people have amazing experiences. We have, whatever you're into happens there. We have gnomes and fairies walking around the place, photographs of them.
Let me jump in. Graham, I'm 55. You know me. I talk about fairies now with a straight face.
Yeah. Definite progress then.
But the veils between worlds are so thin that, if you're into the Ascended Masters, we're having Kuan Yin appear in the physical there. We have photographs of it. Babaji, we have photographs of a lot of different masters, some you don't know about that are appearing there. We have fifth dimensional Pleiadians appearing there, sixth dimensional Orion Council of Light beings, seventh dimensional Syrian lion beings showing up there. All this stuff is going on. And if you engage it, you keep an open mind, loving heart, and pure intent, the energy on the property helps you make that connection. So again, you see with your brain. Your brain chooses what you see. And so if you say, well, I'll believe it when I see it, it doesn't really work that way. Although we had a skeptical guy come up there once, and he was a scientist, and he goes, when I see that ship stop and turn around and go back the other way, I'll believe. And right after he said that, the ship stopped, backed up, and it went the other way. And he just sat there with his jaw dropped open, and he just couldn't wrap his head around it. But these things are treetop level. They're massive light ships. They come in every color, shape, and size. There's an interaction, a conscious interaction with the people on the ground. And when they fly over, you say, light it up, and boom, they power up, and it pulses your heart. Your whole chakra system gets pulsed, and everybody gets really giddy. And if you see the ambassador training or the self-mastery classes, when we go out there, everybody is laughing. They're all giddy. There's no fear. The ships are interacting with people.
You know what I'm thinking right now?
Yeah.
DMT and ECETI, that's actually a bad idea.
Yeah. I want a drug that shuts this thing off,
Yeah.
It's like I can't sleep at night. I have all these beings showing up, and so I want something that I can take a pill and it turns everything off for a day or two, just so.
I want to run this down to Desiree really quick. Desiree, is there something that we can do, as a planet to advance our spirituality, to recognize, because there are probably half of this planet that don't even think that there is anything to what we are discussing right now. And if we don't make changes with them, we go nowhere.
Well, we do feel that there is a space-time overlap happening. This is something that Dr. Hurtak talked about in the Keys, that more and more there's going to be more precognition. You heard that from Russell Targ this weekend. There's going to be more deja vu. And so basically, as long as we stay somewhat open-minded, this is the hardest thing. That's why I like the idea of ECETI, where the debunkers come to die, because once there's so much going on this planet that people are starting to realize there's more to reality. But if they keep a closed mind, then that's not going to happen. If they want power to themselves, for the most part, that's not going to happen. But once we start opening ourselves to these possibilities, from different ways. And like I said, we use meditation, we use sacred chants. Dr. Jack had a unique experience. Maybe you can just talk about that since we're talking about experiences. Then we can start realizing that we are also cosmic beings. We have the potential to be really in the stars and in other dimensional realities. We talk about remote viewing. You can remote view the other galaxies if you want to, and you can be right there.
Right. You know, I wear this teaching cord from the Xavante Nation in Brazil. Desiree and I are honorary members. We represent 15 indigenous tribes. They have told us that the cosmic others are coming back. The star nations are not wasting any more time because the habitat is in severe disarray. But in practical language, when I had the experience of being biolocated into the higher worlds, it was through the use of mantric sound forms and sacred language. I built up an energy field, and that opened a morphogenic door for this experience. One doesn't need sacramentals, one doesn't need music, one doesn't need sacred geometry. It depends upon one's consciousness. If one is prepared to go, that happens out of the sense of divine service and divine partnership. So we have to stay away from a new credo statement, a reinvention of religion and religiosity that puts us back into a mental bind that does not permit the freedom of spirit to take place.
And Dr. Hurtak doesn't talk about it, but he was actually taken in his physical body through the Stargate of Orion. This is back in the 70s, which most people didn't even know what a Stargate was practically. And then from there, he went in a spiritual body to other dimensional realities and saw realities both past, present, and future in heavenly realms and also on this planet. And a lot of these things have come true. So this is not just him, I mean, this happened to him and he wrote about it, but this can happen now because of the space-time overlap that's taking place and the awakening that people like Adam and I think Jason and even Laura has some understanding of and has experience on some multidimensional levels. It's happening and it can happen to everyone. And it's once you do that, you pull in that divine spirit of peace, love, compassion, and understanding. That understanding how you can share with others and help others. That's the only way we can do it, when we bring that energy back here and we take that energy not through force and not through violence in any way, shape, or form, but share it with others slowly and with a greater love. Then people will start waking up all over the planet. And they are. No matter where you go, they are waking up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Desiree.
Yes, quantum consciousness is the hidden variable for quantum transition. I say that again, consciousness is the hidden variable for quantum transition. We've hidden ourselves from our true identity, that we are spiritual beings in human form. We're in a great exploration of life, and there are many worlds now available to us. So you must concentrate on the positive and forget about the military-industrial establishment and the games being played out by a lot of naive ufologists who think that the big brothers are going to save us.
Now, I want to have some fun for a second.
Can I just say something? Because there was a lot of
No,
talk.
this question is coming to you next. No, I'm not cutting you off. You're going to answer me.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm going to
If you
come
say
all.
so.
Yes. No, but we're going to come all the way down
If she
the
chooses.
table.
Oh, we need Laura.
And I'm going to end at James. Hanabi, we need somebody to represent us. We do. We need somebody to speak for everybody on this planet. I'm rather embarrassed by the possibility of who those individuals could be, and we need the correct person. So if you could pick anybody to represent us, to speak for us and not embarrass us, who would that person be?
Oh, I know the answer to that straight away. So the person would be the children. Because the children, for me, they are my master teachers, just as nature and Mother Gaia is my master teacher. And I did want to talk a little bit about the mother medicine, ayahuasca, because I ask all of you, you cannot get any more natural than a plant. It's 100% natural. And the work that I do with people is to not then make not make them reliant on the plant teachers. It's just to show them a glimmer, capture their imagination as to what is possible in terms of expanding our consciousness. And going back to the point about children, I really feel the children that are coming here to Gaia right now, they can teach us so much if we open our hearts and minds to them. It's not just about us here to teach them. Often we have come here to unlearn everything, all the programming and the fear-mongering and the conditioning, especially on this topic as it relates to ufology and alien contact. Because there was a survey that was done by the Edgar Mitchell Foundation, and they found out that 95% of people having contact is actually positive and neutral experiences. But yet we're focusing on the 5% sometimes, which is full of fear. So please do learn from the dear children, because the innocence that lives in the children is within each of us. And I really believe that we're not here just to pick one or two people to represent humanity. We did that already, right? Did not really work so well, right? So the star nations are not going to make contact like that. And we have to take away the separation, everyone can have contact with the star nations. So I have contact in meditation through out-of-body experiences. Like I said, I started receiving contact in 2010, 6 years before I started to work with medicine. But the medicine amplified the experiences and created a safe container for me to go deeper. And the medicine is very healing. I feel there's a lot of misunderstanding and judgment with the medicine, but I can see both sides. James was saying a very valid point that people can pick up things, but you know what? Guess what? You can pick up things everywhere. You can pick up stuff when you're talking to someone about something. Maybe they're talking about Donald Trump's wig or something, I don't know. You can pick up bad energy like that too, right? And so really it's about being discerning if you do decide to go down this path of plant medicine, to really do your research about the person that is serving the medicine, and more importantly than anything, is this person in their heart? This is very important. Are they here to serve? I don't have to serve medicine, because I don't need it to access these states of consciousness. I'm doing it from my heart in service to my brother and sister.
Thank you for that. Ruben Langdon's down here in front. He's going, Jimmy, this is the best panel ever, man. Desiree, if you could pick one person on this planet to represent us and not embarrass us, who would that person be?
Well, if I can alter that just a little bit, because Graham had mentioned about, coming to the government. And I think they did come to the government and they said, put away your weapons of war. And then you can live and be with us as part of the cosmic family in the heavens. And I think the military said no to that. So in a sense, I don't know if there's anyone, and I will agree, the children are the best direction.
Right.
And I would also say that they will not then, once they know the answer is no from the governments, they will no longer come to any one place. I think they will appear in the grid points around the planets, like ECETI is one of those grid points. They'll appear over the pyramids of Mexico, to the people of Mexico. They've appeared in Peru. Actually, there was a whole TV station filming a flotilla of UFOs in Lima, Peru. So they are appearing really to everyone. But anyway, I personally like Elon Musk. I think he'll do a good job.
Elon Musk. He'd be good. JJ, who would you pick?
Oh my God.
Well, I agree with Desiree. I think the question really leads us into areas of what may not be important in terms of the great sweep of contact experiences, where everyone must be a citizen diplomat. So my answer to your question is everyone should be empowered to be a citizen diplomat. We do not need the super intellectuals living in the ivory towers. We do not need the people who have not found the compassion of the meek of the earth. We do not need people who haven't felt the poetry of the soul. We need everyone to feel the change within and become mature enough to be a citizen diplomat. Yes. All of you. You are Emmanuels, and that is the deeper meaning, I believe, in the New Testament word of Emmanuel that was given. God with us means the divine mankind partnership is realized. We step forth into a new chapter of evolution. We become cosmic citizens, but it has to be a collective understanding that we are equal in this. Otherwise, we have a new elitism, we have a new priestcraft, we have a new hierarchy of my father prays better than your father in church. That type of dualism cannot sustain a future generation.
I like where this is going. Now, Laura Eisenhower, before I ask who you would pick to represent us here without embarrassing us, I would pick you. What do you guys say? I'd pick Laura. Laura's up on that list. Laura, who would you pick to represent us without embarrassing us?
All right. I'm going to totally embarrass myself.
Don't say Adrian
I just
Ballou.
did something
Don't
that's
say
embarrassing,
Adrian.
but no, this is what I really like. This is a really profound question because you know what I choose? I choose the planetary consciousness of this Earth. And it was stripped from us. It was like the most heinous theft that we could have ever gone through as a humanity. We lost our mother. Everything was put in reversal codes. Everything was very much based on like the Baphomet, like satanic ritual abuse, infecting earth grids and stargates and impacting us on a consciousness level with like a mind control program to like keep us locked into something called the personality matrix, where we're just like looking to like, oh, like, how do we define our self-worth, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm either a success or a failure, you know, riding out this whole tree of knowledge thing, which has been targeted with mind control. So the mother energy is returned to the planet, and so who I vote for is the mother energy, is the activation of like what's happening on a huge level, is the mother energy is returned to this planet. We can walk around barefoot. We can like open our consciousness up to what's happening in the cosmos. It's like an earthly and cosmic event. And the real leader is something so organic and so natural to us that we're almost like afraid of, because we've been taught to be afraid of it. It's like similar to zoo animals. It's like if you're born into captivity for multi-generations and they say, hey, you know, we're going to let you be in your natural habitat, maybe the animals are like, oh my God, that freaks me out. I can't do that. But that's who we are. And so what I want to empower is the fact that the mother energy is returned to this planet. And this whole shift time is the fact that our circuitry is flowing in a way that is healing us on an elemental level, on a DNA level, and on a mental level. And we need to just like cut the cords with the things that are very disturbing, that we don't want as a future, and understand that like that infects our creative channels, and that we can decide what we want to stream through our circuitry, and we can be co-creators. And the true source is with us. And it's the most unconditionally loving mother who's had our back for thousands of years, has never abandoned us. And she's been in just as much pain as us to feel like lost from her children. And this is a huge time of reunion. And we have to like allow that circuitry and that connection to inspire us again. And we're divorcing the imposters. And what I said in my talk today, I was like, we are no longer the Illuminati's bitch.
I told Laura's
Never
on my
was.
short list. Adam Apollo. We need somebody to represent us, man, and not embarrass us.
You know, if all of these answers haven't satisfied your question deeply and thoroughly, I mean, the age of Pisces is over, right? And I am a Pisces, so I can relate. Like, it's time for the people. It's time for leadership to be distributed. It's time for sovereignty. It's time for every single one of us to stand for the truth within us and to have the freedom to stand for that truth and invite the debate, invite the conversation, invite the exploration of how we can learn and grow together and become one people. And if that's still not good for you, Chutes Cat Martinez.
Say it again.
Shutezcot Martinez.
There you go.
He's an earth guarding, a young
Yes,
man.
earth guarding.
He's like 19, spoke in front of the UN. He's one of the most amazing young Native American youth I've ever met in my life. And, you know, he's one of the kids that's leading a lot of the kids in order to engage as protectors of this planet. They're suing the U.S. government for the U.S. government's operations against the Earth. And they're winning.
Right. Jason Quitt. You're also on my short list, by the way. Who should represent us?
Well, to directly answer your question, I would say the resurrection of Mr. Rogers.
That's fucking awesome.
That's it.
Oh my God, I have to.
Adam Sandler.
I can't. I got nothing.
Answer that was stupid.
I got nothing. Graham, I know you've been thinking about this now for a few minutes. Who should represent us
But the other part of your question?
without embarrassing us?
I think we should choose somebody who would embarrass us.
Exactly. That's why I went for the children.
And I am absolutely on the same page on the issue of this person being a child. I am privileged now to be the father of 6 children, all of whom are fully grown adults, and the grandfather of 3 children, of whom the oldest is 4.5. And we have a 4th grandchild on the way. And this is my first experience of really young children, and what I see is that they've come into the world with wisdom. They come into the world fully equipped with wisdom, and what the world does is it strips that wisdom away from them. So I think we need a child under 7 who is not had that wisdom stripped away, and who is willing to embarrass us, and who will speak the truth, the absolute truth, without pretense and without calculation. That's who we need.
I agree.
Let's make it Bran of House Stark.
Yeah, that's what.
All right.
Have you noticed, before I get to James, actually anybody can jump in, but have you noticed that I took pictures today of this 8-month-old baby. I posted them out on Twitter. Her name's Aurora. And 8 months, right, here at the conference. And you look into this child's eyes, and this child is equipped and awake now. I can see it. When I was a kid, when we were playing with mud pies, right? Today it's a different thing. You're absolutely right. And then we take it from them. We take it. I don't understand why. But what's the difference between our generation and what's going on now, where they are brought in so awake and connected? What's the difference? Why is this happening?
I think something magical and enchanted is happening. I think old souls are coming back into the world, coming in with wisdom, and they are our children, and they are our teachers, and they are going to bring us forward, and they represent the future. It's not old guys like
No, and it's not
you
my
and me.
imagination. You
No,
see it too.
I absolutely see it. Children coming into the world with wisdom and ready to teach, and we have to empower those children.
I was one of those children, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to say something. We would do sweat lodges and have fireside talks with the kids, and we give them a talking stick. And the parents would bring their kids there because they wanted their kids to learn, about what's happening. And we give the kids the talking stick, and it's your turn to talk, and everybody's equal in the circle. And when the kids are done, the parents are embarrassed, and they realize that they came not for their kids, they came to be taught by their kids, and it just shifts the whole energy. And the parents come back and go, "Damn, I forgot what was important," and it's pretty amazing. So I always say, you know, I think first the kids, and then we need to listen to the kids. And then I've always said for years, we need a council of grandmothers hooked up to a galactic federation.
Yeah, right on.
If I,
Okay, now answer my question.
What's that?
Who needs to represent us without embarrassing us?
The one person?
Yeah, the one.
How about the oneness in all of us?
Oh, James.
I don't think there is any one person, you know, unless Superman comes back or something. It might work, I don't know.
According to Russell Targ, there was a Superman on the planet, but he left the Earth prematurely. He knew too much.
Right on.
He knew too much.
and
Laura Eisenhower's back. She's back.
But can I just add about the star children, that some of these children really have gone to other star systems during their, you know, when they're 4 and 5, they start talking about it. They start seeing ships. They see beings in their rooms. I know many of you probably had seen beings in your room at night. I mean, your parents used to always tell you those, you know, that you were nuts. But now I think parents are starting to say, well, maybe you're not nuts, and maybe these are real beings. So talk to them more, find out more. And this is what's happening, I think, with the young kids. So I want to put a plug in for all the star kids that are out there.
Now, okay, I don't want everybody to be bummed. We have 15 minutes left with Contact in the Desert 2019. So, we've got to do this. I want everybody to get this answer in. We've seen dramatic movements forward with the UFO question and the understanding of what is going on out there. No riots in the streets, no pandemonium. The Vatican didn't implode. Wall Street is still there. I don't think anybody jumped off of any buildings. I think we can handle it. I really do. Do you guys agree that we can handle it?
Of course we can handle it. We've had our limbs blow off.
I want everybody to give me their prediction. And we're going to go straight down the panel. I'm going to start with you, James. In 1 year, where do you see us with the ET question? 1 year from today.
Well, I think it's really important to look behind the scenes of all these disclosure projects and see who's funding them and who's behind them. You'll be shocked. You know, you've got major Illuminati players, you know, behind the scenes, and we need to look at that. You know, where they're being funded, and it's not going to come through those sources. It's going to just stagnate again. It's going to happen again and again. But I think the real disclosure is going to come from the skies, and we're ready for it, and it's already happening right now. It's escalating like crazy. I don't think in another 2 years maximum that hardly anybody's going to be able to deny that they're jockeying for parking space right now up there.
I agree.
If they all uncloak, it's going to be, they'll probably block out the sun.
Certainly above ECETI, that is the case.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many here. There's so many different groups here. There's just armadas of ships. The inner Earth beings are coming out now. The Earth is sandwiched right now. The Earth is raising its frequency from the core, and the higher dimensional beings are pressing in right now. There's no way to go for tyranny other than out, you know. So it's going to implode on itself, and all this is going to come out. All the fuelless energy, the healing technologies, the connection with these beings that have already transcended war, and they've transcended disease, and they live in universal consciousness, you know, according to universal law, basically. That's all coming. It's our destiny. It can't be stopped. How soon? Soon's a funny word, you know. They always say soon, you know, and sometimes soon to them is 10 years or 100 years. But it's different. But all I can say is that I can't see it going more than a couple more years, where it'll just be in your face and you won't be able to deny it. And I know where this technology is. It's already on the ground. It's ready to go. We've got anti-gravity, counter-gravity devices this big around that'll power, you know, your house, you know, with overload, basically. And they're here. They're on the ground. I know where they are. We're just waiting for this other group to kind of implode on itself, and then it's all going to come out. And the quicker we do that, the quicker we all get behind that, it's going to happen. So it's up to us, all of us, to like stand tall in our own divinity and demand these things, demand that they come forward.
Thank you for that, James. And I'm being very serious. This is a Sunday night at Contact in the Desert, and I do this every year. I do the closing night panel, and we're here, and I want everybody to leave with the excitement and that they've learned something. And tonight, this is part of the memory that they're going to take with them, Graham. So when I ask you, it's a very serious question. In 1 year, with the way things have gone in the last 2 years, where do you think the ET question is going to be in 12 months? Are we going to push this disclosure thing over the goal line?
I'm sorry that I can't share the optimism of James. I don't think that things are going to be any different in 1 year or 2 years from now. Until we sort out our own shit on this planet, I don't think we're ready to join the universal community. And I think that's where the priority should be, in learning to love one another as fellow human beings, in learning to nurture, in learning to care, in ending warfare, in ending the weapons of warfare, in disarming, in getting rid of these horrible nationalistic, divisive sentiments that are being multiplied on this planet. We need to get rid of all that stuff first. If we're going to graduate to the universal dimension, we got to do a lot of work right here at home. And I don't see that work happening enough. I see divisions being exploited and multiplied by our political classes. And they speak through the media, and they exercise mind control over millions and millions of people. This needs to change. We need to take responsibility for ourselves before we start calling for help from outside. That's my view, and I don't think we've done that yet.
Yeah.
And
I want to say something. I agree with that. I was talking about disclosure. Like, when are we going to agree the ships are here and the ETs are real? But it doesn't take away from personal responsibility. We have to get our act together on the ground.
No, that's exactly right. And Graham, every time when I start to take my mind down this road where we need to consider these things, I think of one fundamental thing. We still make bullets. How crazy primitive are we? Bullets.
Well,
I mean, how nuts is that?
It's
Bullets.
extremely nuts. We still make handguns.
Yes.
What is the purpose? A handgun has only one purpose, and that is to kill a fellow human being.
To fire a bullet. Yes.
It's to kill a fellow human being. It's not even to go hunting an animal to eat. It's to kill a fellow human being. That is the purpose of a handgun. We make them. People are very invested in these things. This, to me, is a sign of a very low level of consciousness. We need to evolve at the level of consciousness. When we evolve at the level of consciousness, when we're capable of recognizing that we are all one family, that those things that divide us are far less important than those things that unite us, when we really wear this in our heart and act with love towards fellow human beings, then we are ready to enter the universal family. Right now, we have not yet graduated.
Do we have another award for Graham back there that we can bring? Jason Quitt,
Yes.
Where are we going to be in 12 months?
Well, this answer was absolutely perfect, and it's exactly my thoughts as well. But you have to understand that right now, the UFO subject and the releasing of mass media that these things are here, it's almost like the carrot on the stick in front of us. And the way that I look at it is that it's showing us a possible future that we could inherit. So we can actually go down this road in the future and become this type of society or have this type of technology. But again, we cannot get there if we're just continually killing each other. We can't get there if we're just continually taking rights away, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So it's like we're getting all this amazing disclosure in the media, and look at Contact in the Desert, how many people showed up this year. This is really, really getting out into the mass consciousness, but also the UFO subject is now being accepted into the mass consciousness, which is allowing us to say, you know what? we can choose a better way, and hopefully the mass consciousness will decide to go down that route, and the powers that be will fall apart.
Thank you for that, Jason. Incredible. Adam, where are we going to be in 12 months, man?
You know, I haven't been very good with predictions because, you know, I think we had a plan for contact happening in 2012 at massive levels. And, you know, timelines shift sometimes. I do see incredible progress and acceleration of growth, of people owning their shadow and owning their shit, frankly. I know that a lot of us in this room have been experiencing that, and I think that as we've been gaining sight of the depth of that shadow collectively, as it's been surfaced by crazy red-haired wigged guys and crazy governments and crazy us, you know, bringing up the truth, that we are able to, through seeing our shadow, make a new choice. Now, when you make that choice, that's up to you. But if you can't see your shadow, if you can't see the darkest part of humanity, you can't make a choice for something different. And I really hear you, Graham. I really do. And I know that a lot of the people that keep the handguns is because they're scared. They want to be able to shoot somebody who's going to kill them, right? And if there's one thing that the Galactic family has taught me, and perhaps that, I don't know, taught myself in this journey, is that humanity has a capacity to shift from nearly any state you can imagine to love if we are faced with something exquisitely beautiful and inspiring. I have watched the most rageful person in the most mad state suddenly realize that the sunrise is the most gorgeous thing they've ever seen and forget about their problems. And I think that that's where, if there's a faith that our galactic family has in us making it through this and getting to the other side, it's actually about our capacity to surrender. It's about our capacity to shift when it's important, when it really matters. So, you know, a year from now, the Earth will have gone around the sun, and the sun will be going around the core of the galaxy. And as that happens, the harmonics of change and the flows of the planets will continue to massage our consciousness into a greater state of realization. Will we have big starships landing on the White House lawn? Absolutely not. Will they be landing and touching down at sacred sites around the world where beings and friends and family and you guys out there are making contact? Absolutely yes, because that is already happening. We are already doing that.
Thank you for that, and I totally agree. Laura, where are we going to be in 12 months, young lady?
My thoughts are that we win the war within ourselves, and we are the embodiment of the planetary body. We are the waters, we are the oceans, we are the sky, we are the fire, we are all these elements. And so it's up to us. You know, we win the war within ourselves. This has been a war on consciousness. It's also been a tragic set of like thousands of years of a lot of trauma and a lot of like physical wars that were bred to us in a way that like we would think we needed to fight for something. The things that are values that we hold within our own soul. These wars are not going to be fought in the way that they used to be. Now the war is within ourselves. What are we choosing in every moment? Every moment we have the choice to be authentic and to be true to ourselves and to recognize the healing energies that are available to us. So we're not at the mercy of what humanity decides, because if we look through that lens, then we're always like maybe a victim, or it's all going to be okay, and we're relying on some leader or some savior. We need to win the war within ourselves and understand that when we purify our inner elements, the earth will respond to us, and we can create that destiny and be inspirational. Not controllers, not abusers, but people that can start to like activate other people's DNA and remind them of who they really are. And so what I see coming in front of us is Saturn moon matrix, the limitations, the frequency fences and seals that have been in our DNA that called it junk DNA, we recognize as like the most beautiful inheritance that we ever could find. And that through trials and tribulations and through the darkness and the ugliness of it all, we see the beauty, and we don't judge each other, and we walk hand in hand, and we rely on each other in a safe environment of being a true community, and that we walk hand in hand, and we rehabilitate and help the world to see that, you know, there are loving people that will not take advantage of you, will not exploit you. We are like the example. And so I think it's us that are going to inspire the rest of the masses. We don't have to rely on outer disclosure. We rely on the fact that we are unity consciousness, and we will heal the fragmentation and abuses that are cast upon us, and we will giggle a lot too, right?
Thank you for that, Laura. JJ, we have 5 minutes left for Contact in the Desert. I'm already starting to feel melancholy. JJ, where are we going to be in 12 months?
I feel that the poetry of John the Divine that speaks of the opening of the seventh seal will continue its course. It will not be within the next 12 months. It will be within our psychological time of realizing the kingdom within us is already here, and that we must collectively move through this culture of violence into a culture of peace. And that is the credibility we will give to the cosmic family upstairs, that we are ready to graduate. But we must not get into this linear time frame. That's the whole game of setting situations that are unrealistic. We must realize that we have the joy and the purpose of the kingdom already within us. And that's why we're here at this conference. We are the liberation, the avant-garde, the people of the future already as the critical mass.
JJ Hurtak, right there.
So this is all about Schoolhouse Earth and consciousness, as we've been saying. ETs are not going to give it all to us on a silver platter. They have, I believe, and according to the Keys of Enoch, our work, given us information, past, present, future. They've given us the technology through our own consciousness, and in some cases through the military. But it's all up to us to really transform. They don't want us going beyond the solar system until we grow up. They don't want us using our technologies the wrong way. We have to make that right decision. But it's important also to realize, and I'll be the downside here at almost to the end, I know she'll be the upside, that there's something else going on the planet. And it may be connected with our consciousness, but it's also connected with the whole sphere that we're in. The planet is going through changes. We believe that's part of the reason why ET has been so prevalent in the recent times. And so we have to really speed up our consciousness, catch up, and start living like we exist as cosmic beings in 8th dimensional reality, in 12th dimensional reality, and from our higher self function on this planet with a divine purpose. And then we'll be able to graduate collectively, all of us, the entire planet. So it's a slower process, but we don't have that much more time. So we really need to wake up and do it fast.
Thank you for that, Desiree. Hanavi Strong, dear, take us out of here. Where are we going to be in 12 months?
Yes, very good question, brother. So I fully expect to see all of you 1 year from now attending at least one of my ayahuasca ceremonies in Peru. Right? No, but in all seriousness, what I feel, what I perceive, and what has been shared with me is that this splitting effect that has already begun is going to polarize further. And so what this splitting effect is on the one hand, we have those who are coming together in unity, collaboration, from love, in service. And then we have this other side that is still stuck in this old paradigm of fear and competition and comparison. And make no mistake, we did not come here to try to escape our humanity. Oh, good Lord, no. We are here to embrace all of ourselves, the messiness, the parts of ourselves that are falling all over the place, as well as our divinity. We are here to be a bridge between worlds, and that is what I see happening in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now, I want everybody to stand up. I want everybody to get loud. I want all of our speakers to come out in front and say thank you. Let's bring out James Gilliland. Mr. Graham Hancock. Jason Quitt. Look at this room. Adam Apollo, where are you? Come on out. Keep your hands in the air. Laura Eisenhower. This is bleeping great, by the way. Doctors JJ and Desiree Hurtak. Hannover Strong Deer, come on out. This has been an amazing weekend. I would like to bring out now Victoria Gavoyan, come on out. Paul Andrews, Contact in the Desert. Me shooting Adam, shooting myself. James, thank you, my brother. I also want to say thank you to Matt and the entire AV team. Crystal, thank you so much for all of your hard work. Look at this. Look at this. This is amazing. Keep your hands in the air. Now, let me jump through here, Graham. I want to give a microphone to Victoria. Here's Paul.
Listen, I want to thank you all again from the bottom of my heart for coming and being here with us and for supporting the show. I want to thank my amazing speakers for all their hard work, bringing their research and their talent to this show. I am deeply grateful. I hope to see you all again next year. And here's my partner, Victoria.
Okay. You are the most